All right, everybody, welcome back to the show for another deep dive.
Yeah, great to be back.
You ever just get that feeling like you're ready to go? I'm going to write that book or finally get in shape or learn that new skill. I'm ready to go.
Oh yeah, that initial motivation,
Uh-huh.
it can feel amazing.
Oh, it's incredible. But then a few days go by, maybe a week or two, and it's gone.
Happens to the best of us.
Poof, it's gone. Yeah, so we're actually going to talk today about a book called The Power of Discipline by Daniel Walter.
Great book.
And what we're going to do is we're going to unpack this idea of discipline.
Yeah, forget motivation.
So get motivation.
Right.
Motivation is fleeting, but discipline is that core engine that's going to keep you going day after day.
Keeps you moving forward.
So by the end of this deep dive, you're going to have some solid tools and frameworks that you can use to build your own self-discipline so you can achieve anything you set your mind to.
Absolutely. And we'll be diving into some of the key takeaways from Walter's book, Practical Strategies. What discipline really is and how you can cultivate it, the importance of mental toughness, and this fascinating concept called the discipline loop.
Ooh, the discipline loop. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, it's all about self-mastery.
So we're going to explore all of this together today, and by the end, you'll have some concrete steps that you can take to start building that lasting self-discipline.
Real quick, if you're enjoying this, make sure to hit that subscribe button.
Can't wait. Let's get started.
All right, let's lay the groundwork here. What is discipline? And I think a lot of times when people think about discipline, they think, well, you either have it or you don't.
You see these highly disciplined people and think, oh, they were just born that way.
They just have it, right? Like some people are born with like a, musical talent, and some people are just born with discipline.
Right, exactly. And that's actually one of the first things that Walter addresses in his book. He debunks that myth that discipline is innate.
He does. He says it's not innate at all. It is a skill.
It's a skill, a mental muscle that grows stronger with use.
Oh, that's a good mental muscle. I like that.
Yeah. And I think that's really encouraging, right? Because it means that no matter where you are in your journey, you can absolutely build that discipline.
It's like going to the gym for your brain.
Exactly.
So how does discipline then differ from motivation? Because I think a lot of times people think they're the same thing, but I know from my own experience, motivation is kind of like a roller coaster ride.
Yeah, it is up and down.
One day you're feeling it, the next day you're not.
Yeah, and Walter really hits on that point in his book. He says, motivation, it is like a mood. It comes and goes. It's very fluid.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
You can't depend on it consistently.
No, you can't. And especially for those big long-term goals, you're not always going to feel motivated to go to the gym, 4 days a week.
Right.
Or to write that book, every single day.
Exactly. And that's where discipline comes in.
Yeah.
It's that consistent framework. It's about creating systems, establishing routines, and really using your environment to cue those actions, regardless of whether you feel motivated or not.
You're taking control.
You're not a slave to your feelings.
It's about showing up even when you don't want to.
Yeah, I love that. So let's dive into then the actual, steps, right? Because we've talked about what discipline is. It's a skill, how it's different from motivation, but how do we actually build it?
Yeah, so Walter lays out a few key principles in his book, and I think one of the most accessible ones is the idea of start small, stay consistent.
Okay, start small, stay consistent. Give me an example. What does that mean?
So instead of, trying to completely overhaul your life overnight, which can feel really daunting.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming.
Right, he emphasizes the power of micro wins, so these small, consistent actions that compound over time.
Oh, that's interesting.
For example, let's say you want to write a book, right?
Yeah.
The thought of writing a whole manuscript can be intimidating. So instead of focusing on that huge task, you break it down into something smaller and more manageable, like committing to writing just 100 words every day.
Okay, 100 words a day. That's not so bad. Right. And the key is the consistency. You do that every single day, and before you know it, those 100 words turn into pages, then chapters, and eventually you have a completed book.
So it's the small actions repeated over time.
Exactly. Like compound interest.
I like that.
Small, consistent contributions lead to huge results.
Okay, so start small, stay consistent. What's another principle that Walter talks about?
Another really crucial one is delay gratification. And this is something I think we all struggle with.
Oh, yeah, I struggle with that one for sure.
Yeah, it's about training your brain to prioritize long-term success over immediate pleasure.
So it's like you want the cookie now, but if you can resist it, then you'll be healthier in the long run.
Exactly right. And Walter gives some great examples in his book. It could be as simple as choosing to skip dessert or, resisting the urge to check social media when you should be focusing on work.
Or maybe even doing the hardest task on your to-do list first and then rewarding yourself with something more enjoyable later.
Exactly. It's about consciously delaying that immediate pleasure to train your brain to value those longer-term benefits.
I like that. So start small, stay consistent, delay gratification. What else we got?
Another key principle is use triggers and environment. So Walter really emphasizes that our surroundings and routines have a significant impact on our ability to stay disciplined.
So it's like if you're trying to eat healthier and you have junk food all over your counter, you're probably going to be tempted to eat it.
Exactly. It's about setting yourself up for success.
Set yourself up for success.
By intentionally structuring your environment, you can minimize temptations and make it easier to stick to your goals. So for example, if you're easily distracted by your phone when you're trying to work, put it in another room.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
Or use website blockers, to eliminate those tempting distractions. Or if your goal is to exercise more consistently, lay out your workout clothes the night before. It creates a visual cue.
It removes that barrier.
Exactly right. It's about making the discipline choice the easiest choice.
I love that. Okay, so we've talked about the external things like our environment, but what about the internal stuff? Like how do we deal with the mental challenges of building discipline?
Yeah, that's a great question because discipline is very much a mental game. And Walter talks a lot about mental toughness and resilience in his book.
Okay, so how do we build that mental toughness?
Well, Walter says, we need to lean into discomfort because discomfort is inevitable when you're working towards any meaningful goal.
Yeah, and it's easy to just give up when things get hard, right?
Right, exactly. But he says those moments when you push through, that's where real growth happens.
So it's not about avoiding the discomfort, it's about embracing it.
Yes, exactly. It's about building that mental muscle.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we embrace the discomfort?
Well, he outlines a few techniques. One is visualization. So really vividly imagining those rewards and the feeling of accomplishment that will come from achieving your goals.
Okay, so you're almost like tricking your brain.
Right, you're keeping your focus on the positive.
On the positive.
Another technique is positive self-talk. So becoming aware of those negative thoughts we all have, I can't do this, this is too hard, and consciously replacing them with more empowering affirmations.
I got this.
Exactly right. And finally, he talks about accountability. So sharing your goals with someone you trust or finding a disciplined partner who can provide support and encouragement.
Yeah, it's like having a workout buddy.
Right. Someone to keep you accountable.
Okay, so visualization, positive self-talk, accountability, those are all great tips. And earlier you mentioned something called the discipline loop.
Yes, the discipline loop.
I'm intrigued. Tell me about that.
So Walter presents this really interesting four-part cycle that explains how habits of discipline are formed and reinforced.
Oh, I'm listening.
It starts with a cue. This is a trigger that reminds you to perform a specific action. Could be a time of day, a location, or even an action you do beforehand.
Okay, so like if you always drink coffee before you start working on a project, that could be your cue.
Exactly right. And then the second part of the loop is the routine itself. This is the disciplined action that you take in response to that cue.
So that's the actual work you do.
Exactly. And then comes the reward, which can be an immediate feeling of satisfaction or a longer-term benefit that you anticipate.
So it's like the feeling of accomplishment you get after finishing a task or the progress you're making towards your goal.
Exactly. And finally, there's reinforcement.
Yeah.
This involves reflecting on the process and recognizing that positive outcome, which makes you more likely to repeat the loop in the future.
So it's like a positive feedback loop. Each time you complete the cycle, it strengthens those neural connections in your brain, making that disciplined action more and more automatic.
Precisely. It becomes ingrained as a habit.
I love that it's like hacking your brain for success.
Exactly right. And the more you understand this loop, the more you can actively design habits that support your goals.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so we've talked about the discipline loop, and we've talked about these principles like start small, stay consistent, delay gratification, and use triggers and environment. But what about this idea of mastering yourself that Walter talks about in his book? What does that actually look like?
Yeah, so in the final part of the book, Walter delves into some specific daily practices that can enhance your self-discipline. And one that he really emphasizes is the benefit of waking up early.
Waking up early, yeah, I've heard that one before.
It's a common theme among successful people.
Yeah.
And he argues that those early morning hours before all the distractions of the day kick in, they provide this valuable window of quiet, focused time that you can dedicate to personal development.
Yeah, it's like you're getting a head start on the day before everyone else is even awake.
Exactly. You're setting yourself up for success. And along with waking up early, He also emphasizes the importance of establishing consistent morning routines.
Morning routines. Okay, so what does a good morning routine look like according to Walter?
He suggests keeping it simple but effective. So things like hydrating first thing in the morning, engaging in some form of physical movement, even if it's just a short walk, spending a few minutes journaling for reflection or dedicating some time to reading or learning.
It's like starting your day with intention.
Exactly. You're in control.
And then the last point you mentioned under mastering yourself was eliminating distractions.
Yes. This is crucial because discipline isn't just about doing the right things. It's also about actively cutting out the things that hinder your progress.
The things that get in the way.
Exactly. So it might involve identifying your biggest time wasters, whether it's social media or email or certain websites, and then taking steps to minimize or eliminate them.
So it's like being ruthless with your time and attention.
Absolutely.
Wow, okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here today. What would you say are some of the key takeaways from The Power of Discipline that our listeners should really remember?
I think the biggest takeaway is that discipline is a skill anyone can develop. It's not something you're born with.
It's like learning to play an instrument or learning a new language. It takes practice.
Exactly. And another key point is to focus on small, consistent actions, those micro wins that compound over time, rather than relying on motivation.
Motivation comes and goes, but discipline is that steady force that keeps you moving forward.
Precisely. And also remember the importance of delaying gratification, training your brain to prioritize long-term rewards over immediate pleasure.
And don't forget the power of shaping your environment and leveraging the discipline loop to build and sustain positive habits.
Right. Your surroundings and routines have a huge impact on your success.
Oh, and I love the quotes in this book. There are so many great ones that really capture these ideas.
Yeah, definitely one that stood out to me was discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It's a simple but powerful way to frame that internal struggle we all face.
And another one that really resonated with me was the difference between who you are and who you want to be is what you do.
It emphasizes that our actions are what shape our future selves.
And finally, this one really sums up the book's overall message. Success is less about talent and more about consistent effort over time.
It's so encouraging because it means that anyone can achieve their goals if they're willing to put in the work.
Yeah, talent is great, but discipline is what really makes the difference.
Exactly. So if you're out there and you're listening to this and you're thinking, I wish I was more disciplined, this book is definitely for you.
It's for anyone who wants to take control of their lives and achieve their full potential.
Whether you're a student, an entrepreneur, a creative person, anyone who wants to make a change.
Okay, so to wrap this all up, what's the final core message of The Power of Discipline? What's the one thing our listeners should walk away with?
The core message is that action trumps excuses.
Action trumps excuses. I love that.
You don't need to wait for motivation or inspiration to strike.
Just gotta do it.
You just got to do it, build those routines, take control of your impulses, and those big ambitious goals will become much more attainable.
This has been such a great deep dive into the power of discipline.
It's been a pleasure.
And for you listening out there, I want you to think about one area in your life where you've been relying on motivation. And what's one small, disciplined action you can take today, maybe even right after you finish listening to this, that will move you closer to what you want most?
Yeah. What's one small step you can take right now?
It doesn't have to be huge, just something small and consistent that you can build on over time.
That's the key: consistency.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
Until next time.
See you then.
Bye.
Like and subscribe.